What is going on, everyone? Hope you're having a fantastic day today. You know what time it is? It's time to rank some ACC teams. And I also know what you're thinking. You didn't know that. You didn't know WreckTalk's a mind reader. I know what you're thinking. My God, how can I get my mustache looking so thick and luxurious as yours? How can I look so badass with my mustache and aviators that I knock on someone's window and they say, "Yes, officer," despite what I'm wearing? There's one reason and one reason only for this. It's King's Ransom Beard Oil. I use it every day. We got some right here behind me. They also have colognes. It's a company founded by a Georgia Tech chemical engineer, so you know it's good. Since I've been using King's Ransom Beard Oil on my mustache, we're undefeated. We're flat out undefeated. So you can click the link in the store right below this video. You can use promo code WreckTalk and get a discount today. Or you can go to kingsransomusa.com today. With that being said, we'll take a peek at last week's rankings. I think these are last week's rankings. And I'm going to tell you, some things are going to change. Some people learn some things about their team that WreckTalk's been telling them for years now. But we'll go ahead and we will reset. So, the doo-doo tier is just FSU. It's hard to be worse than FSU. It's hard to be down bad as much as FSU is, but we'll talk about them in a second. First, I think Duke was on a bye, which makes a lot of tech teams or tech fans nervous. I'm just going to go ahead and start with them and put them in the above average Power 4 tier. I actually don't think they're a contender for the ACC. And I'm going to tell you why. We were doing a members-only stream right before I recorded this. If I told you that total defense, Duke is statistically worse than both Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech, would you believe me? Probably not, but that's true. Now, but Reck, in their last 3 games, they've held both teams to under 350 yards. One under 300 yards, under 250 yards. Yeah, that would be Syracuse and Cal. Now, they played NC State 3 weeks ago, or 3 games ago. You know how many yards they gave up? Over 500 to an NC State team that I don't think is that great. So for right now, I'll put them there. But I'm a lot more confident playing Duke this week than I was before. But like always, we'll go through these games in the order they were played. First, we're just talking about Virginia Tech, or talking about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's definitely a contender, especially how their schedule plays out. If they can handle Duke and Pitt and the rest of it, they got Syracuse in there too going out. Like, Tech could go undefeated. Now, do they have a lot of things to correct and improve on? Yes. But again, their schedule stacks up nicely. They covered a large spread against Virginia Tech this week, beat them 35-20. And threw some new wrinkles in. Tech came off of a bye week in this game. Defensively, there's some things I don't like. Drones ran for a 32-yard touchdown untouched. But for the most part, Tech looked really good in this game. Haynes King looked really good. Haynes King threw the ball as well as I've seen him throw the ball since like his first year with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has a deep running back room. Remember the name Malachi Hosley. He's about to rip off a ton of yards going into the back half of the season. Also remember the name Isaiah Canyon. It's going to get all nasty up in here. But look, I'm a bit higher on Georgia Tech this week than I have been in previous weeks. Either way, big win for Georgia Tech. We'll see how they stack up overall, but they're definitely a contender for the ACC championship. But I'm also realistic. Are they a national title contender? No, they're not even close to that. If they make the playoffs, they're likely to get beat in the first round, but they're certainly a contender for the ACC. Virginia Tech's bad. They're just a bad team. Struggling on defense, penalty-ridden. There was a ton of penalties in that game. Offensively, Georgia Tech was pretty much able to do what they wanted and have their way with Virginia Tech in that game. They didn't put up much of a resistance. Georgia Tech even pulled some tomfoolery with hey, I'm catching it over here on a punt. No, they're catching it over there. Also, pulled off a 2-point conversion to start the game. But until Virginia Tech gets a new coach in there and starts really turning the tide, I don't think you're going to see much improvement with Virginia Tech. Now, they do have a good ground attack. I will give them that. Running the ball, good. Throwing the ball, not so good. We'll move on here. NC State gets handled by Notre Dame. NC State scores 7 points. They get beat 36-7. They only score in the second quarter. I guess no one told NC State you don't have to just score all in one quarter. You can score at any time you want. Carr goes off for 342 yards and 2 touchdowns for Notre Dame. I didn't watch this game. In fact, I only watched the Georgia Tech and Pitt Florida State game. Cards on the table. Pigskin Pete hates Dave Doran. I'm willing to say NC State's average for now. They are 4-3. Though, but they did beat Virginia. Now, that doesn't count as a conference game for reasons, but, they did beat Virginia. Got to give them that. Let's just keep moving along here to what y'all wanted to hear. Pitt beats Florida State 34-31. And it's not like Pitt played a perfect game. I don't know how you pronounce the quarterback's name. Hensel, is that his name? Threw for 321 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also 2 picks, both of which I believe came in the first quarter. Also, put the ball on the ground twice. So he made some freshman mistakes, but he absolutely lit up Florida State in the second half. I mean, he couldn't miss in the second half. 417 total yards to 415 total yards for Florida State. What do I have written here? Oh, yeah. Pitt started the game with, I think, 3 straight 4th down conversions. 3 straight. Goes into Tallahassee, 3 straight 4th down conversions. Now, Casanelos, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. 1 was a prayer at the end of the first half. We'll talk about that. Didn't throw for any interceptions, but he did fumble the ball once. So we talked about the game starts with 3 straight 4th down conversions. And then Pitt kicks the ball out of bounds right after, driving down the field like that. And an FSU false start. This was one of the sloppier games I've watched in a while. I also heard Uncle Lou mention this, and I haven't watched since Casanel's been doing this, but he has a glove on his non-throwing hand for some reason. I don't know why. I think it was a white glove. It's just a little bit weird. What do I have written here? 9:50 to go in the second quarter. Pitt fielded a punt on their own 2-yard line for no reason. I mean, really, Pitt did everything they could to keep Florida State in this game and let them avoid their 3rd straight embarrassing loss. Mike Norvell hasn't won an ACC game. He just turned 44. He hasn't won an ACC game since he was like 42. It's been over a year since he's won an ACC game. But your problems are going to be solved by going to the SEC. Florida State can't beat an ACC team to save their lives. They're dog shit. They're awful. They're one of the worst teams in the conference right now. And I'm not even trashing them. That's just facts. Pitt blocks a Florida State punt. Then throws a pick. I mean, again, Pitt did not play Pitt kind of played shitty and still beat Florida State and Tallahassee. The last 6 seconds lasted forever, by the way. Florida State marched down the field. Casanelos throws up a prayer, not even off his back foot, like right before he hits the ground for a touchdown. Pitt gets the ball, commits like 4 straight penalties. They could have just taken a knee, commits like 4 straight penalties. One of which assessed on the kickoff to start the second half. But anyways, enough of me looking at that. Pitt's just a better team than Florida State. Pitt's a flat out better team than Florida State. We all laughed at Florida State when they got beat on a Friday night at Virginia. That wasn't a fluke. Virginia is flat out a better team than Florida State. I guess you can make yourself feel better by saying, hey, we beat Alabama. You know what type of team, what level of team, will beat like a top 15 team and then lose 3 straight conference games in a row or something. They're called a group of 5 team. Florida State is basically a group of 5 team. All right. Everyone wants to get on here that's a Florida State fan, get in the comment section and talk, but you're just a hater though, man. You're just a hater. I'm just ahead of the curve on you morons. That's what I am. I told you last year you were dog shit. After we beat you last year, I had all the reason in the world to pump you up as being a great team. Remember what I said? Let's wait and see. I legitimately think Florida State might be dog shit, and I was right. I've never seen a team embody the stupidity, the softness, and lack of mental fortitude that their fan base does quite like Florida State. Florida State is the mentally weakest team I have ever watched in my entire time watching football. The first hint of adversity, you don't just spiral throughout that game. That can be forgiven. Hell, Georgia Tech does that. But you know what Georgia Tech won't do? They will lose to Bowling Green, but you know what they'll do after that? Beat Miami, who's a top 5 team, who has the number 1 draft pick on their team. Florida State will lose and then follow it up with 9 other losses, which could happen this year. All of a sudden, Florida State fans are agreeing with Rec. I didn't think it would happen. They want Mike Norvell fired. We just saw Franklin fired, second highest buyout ever paid to a coach in the history of college football. If Florida State were to fire Mike Norvell, it would still be the second biggest, overtaking the Penn State buyout, second biggest buyout in college football history. I've been saying Mike Norvell. I listed him as, I think, the worst coach when I rank coaches in the offseason. I wasn't far off. You want to fire him. I hope you got a ton of money. Oh, wait, you just spent an entire year suing your TV partner, ESPN, whoever, in your own conference. So good luck coming up with money. And then who's going to want to come to Florida? Who's going to want to come to Tallahassee to be the coach? I hate to break this to you. No one gives a crap about Florida State outside of Tallahassee right now. No one. You are one of the biggest embarrassments of the conference over the past 5 years. Oh, but what about 2013? And what about us going undefeated and we're getting snubbed in the playoffs? First of all, I defended you there, and then I saw how you reacted to it. You're just a bad team. Georgia Tech is a better program than Florida State is right now by a large margin. Florida State would love to have Brent Key. If I, off the record, talked to Florida State fans and asked them, would you trade Norvell for Key? They'd do it in a heartbeat. They do it in a heartbeat. Mike Norvell lost to Jeff Collins. Mike Norvell lost to Jeff Sims, the quarterback we had. I got him written up here. He's playing for Arizona State right now. He's probably the worst quarterback in college football. You're FSU tier. The pain ain't stopping for you. You've given up on your team already, though. I know. But we'll move on. You deserve every bit of hate you get. In fact, sending hate from Georgia your way, Florida State, man. Stanford at SMU. SMU handles Stanford 34-10. Stanford's an awful team. There's no point in me even I didn't watch that game. 278 yards. Damn, for Stanford's quarterback, he was the leading passer. Either way, I still don't really know what to think about SMU. What is their ACC record? They're 2-0. We'll put them as a contender right now, to be determined. I do think Pitt is an above average team, and I will put them above Duke. I'm impressed with Pitt right now. I think the best is yet to come for Pitt. Ton of teams were on a bye this week. I guess we'll go ahead and get North Carolina out of the way that was on a bye. They're worse than Florida State, but only slightly. They're another team that's just dying to fire their coach, who's a complete embarrassment to their entire program and the conference. Another team that I told you what it was going to be. Where's all the North Carolina fans and Florida State fans that were saying that I was such a dummy in the offseason for telling you the truth? Where are they? up and gone like a fart in the wind, which is exactly what your offense is. If you're North Carolina, setting aside all the Jordan Hudson stuff, I don't know if there is a way they can fire Bill Belichick between now and the end of the season or in December, they're going to. And like I said last week, it's not even fun to make fun of North Carolina fans anymore. There wasn't many of them to begin with, and the ones that were tuning in to watch the disaster that was Bill Belichick are long gone as well. I guess they can go have a group therapy session with the Florida State fans and hug each other and talk about their brands and how great things are going to be in the SEC or Big Ten. Wake Forest handles Oregon State. Now, Oregon State's 0-7. Another team. There's an epidemic right now of just firing coaches. Oregon State fired their coach. They win 39-14. I do think Wake is better than most people give them credit for, and I'm not just saying that because they hit us in the mouth in Winston-Salem. I do think they're an average team. They beat NC State, by the way, didn't they? Let me go back and look. Let's look at Wake's record. Someone who does this more would know. No, they lost in a tight one to NC State. I can't by right then put them above NC State. But I think they're an average team. I think they're better than people give them credit for. So I guess everyone, we'll go ahead and do Boston College and Clemson. Clemson's probably an average team. Are they better than Wake? Probably. We'll put them right there for now. They're way down from where they have been. They're 3-3, 2-2 in the ACC. I think this is their first. Is this their first Power 4 win? Let me look at Clemson's schedule. They're 3-3. It can't be. No, they beat North Carolina. So they beat North Carolina and now Boston College. Obviously, people very unhappy with Dabo. Dabo does silly things. Dabo threatens his own fan base anytime he gets criticized. And, but Jesus loves me, so you should too. That stick has run old there in Clemson. But I think they're about average, which is way down for them. We already ranked Boston College. Were all of these teams on a bye this week? I guess so. A ton of ACC teams on a bye. Syracuse is bad. By right, Syracuse should go in the FSU tier. Once Angeli went down, that was kind of a wrap on their season. Fran Brown gives a very odd interview where he's asked about getting poached. And he goes, well, I'm here right now. At this moment, I'm right here. I'm offended you would ask that. It's weird that he would phrase it at this moment. It's almost like he's offended if no one were to call him. Like I was saying this in the members only stream. Fran Brown is a guy that I could see no one calling to poach him from Syracuse and then holding a press conference saying, no one called me to offer me a job and get me out of Syracuse. And I'm offended by that. And I'm not going to shower for 3 weeks straight I'm not going to shower until someone calls me and offers me a job. Fran Brown's a weirdo. They're way down. We have them this year as well. I expect us to be able to handle Syracuse. I think they're well played. We'll put them at the top of the shittiest tier we can put them in, which is the Florida State tier. Virginia is a contender, and I honestly think you put them above Georgia Tech right now. They don't have an ACC loss, I don't think. They did lose to NC State again. That was a scheduling thing. That doesn't count against their ACC record. Let me go look at Virginia's schedule real quick. Yeah, they're 5-1. They're 3-0 in the ACC. They're certainly a contender, and their schedule stacks up nicely for them. They've already beaten Louisville. Then they've got at North Carolina, at Cal, two of the worst teams in the conference. Wake will be a tough one, at Duke, and then Virginia Tech. So they basically have two, really call it one tough game, probably at Duke going out. But should I put them above Georgia Tech? I think they have consistently played better ball than Georgia Tech, and they have a better record. Here's the thing. If you look at Georgia Tech's opponents, the record of Georgia Tech's opponents is 11-14. And I'm going to give the nod to Virginia Tech. People, I haven't been accused of being a homer much. I generally think I'm pretty fair on Georgia Tech, and I would put Virginia above us right now. If we played them tomorrow on a neutral site, I do think Virginia would be like a 2.5 point favorite, like Duke is over Tech. Cal's awful. They're better than Syracuse. I mean, obviously everyone's better than these two trash teams. But they're awful. And I hate to put like a quarter of our conference in the doo-doo tier, but I mean, look at these teams. Look at these teams. They're trash. They are trash. Louisville, I guess, was on a bye this week. Louisville's an above average team. I would squeeze them in between Duke and Pitt. Hell, we didn't rank Stanford in there. Stanford's awful. And I think they're worse than Cal. How many teams are we going to put in the shit tier? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm fair though. I really think those teams are just flat out trash. And obviously Miami, arguably the best team in the country. However, I think the team that has the best argument for being number one in the country is Indiana. They have the best resume. If Penn State doesn't hire Kirk Cignetti as their head coach after paying a $50 million buyout to James Franklin, then I don't know what the point of it was, to be honest with you. So, look, I don't want this video to be, 2,000 years long, but that's our rankings. We'll just go through like the top few here. Miami. We got Miami at number 1, Virginia at 2. Man, I never thought I'd say it, but that's legitimately how I feel. Georgia Tech at 3. I think that's fair. SMU at 4. Pitt at 5. Louisville at 6. Duke at 7. Now, I'm sure Tech fans are going to kill me because they did lose NC State and you have them ranked as an average team. I just think they're playing better overall ball than Tech right now. That's just what I think. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're a Florida State fan, I guess get into lacrosse or something because football ain't going to work out for you. Y'all have a good one.